The Korean Mafia boss slept with his wife's twin by mistake. What happened next destroyed everyone. The Korean Mafia boss woke up beside a woman he thought was his wife, reaching out to pull her close, until his fingers traced the smooth skin just below her collarbone, where a small crescent-shaped birthmark should have been. His hand froze. The warmth drained from his body as ice-cold realization flooded his veins. This woman lying naked beside him, her face peaceful in sleep, her breathing soft and steady, was not his wife. Lee Jun-ho bolted upright, his heart hammering against his ribs. The silk sheets fell away from his bare chest as he stared down at the woman. Same face, same smooth dark skin, same full lips, same delicate cheekbones, but no birthmark. The tiny crescent moon that he'd kissed 1,000 times, that marked his wife Amara as unmistakably his, was missing. "No," he whispered, his voice cracking. "No, no, no." The woman stirred, her eyes fluttering open. When she saw his expression, the horror and rage twisting his features, she didn't look confused. She looked guilty, and that guilt confirmed everything. "Who are you?" Junho's voice was deadly quiet now, the kind of quiet that preceded violence. His hand shot out, gripping her wrist hard enough to bruise. "Who the hell are you?" She flinched but didn't pull away. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry?" He laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "You're sorry? I asked you a question. Who are you?" "Adiz," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I'm Amara's twin sister." The room spun. Junho released her wrist and stumbled backward off the bed, his mind racing. Twin sister. Amara had a twin sister. His wife had never mentioned a twin. Not once in 3 years of marriage. Not once in all their intimate conversations. Their whispered secrets in the dark. Their promises to never hide anything from each other. He grabbed his phone from the nightstand, his hands shaking as he pulled up his wife's contact. The call went straight to voicemail. He tried again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. "Where is she?" he demanded, turning back to Adiz, who had wrapped the sheet around herself. "Where is my wife?" "At the hospital," Adiz said quickly. "There was an emergency surgery. She called me because she knew you'd be coming home, and she didn't want you to be alone. She asked me to wait for you, to make sure you ate something, to tell you she'd be home as soon as she could. So you decided to sleep with me instead?" The words came out like venom. "You were drunk," Adiz said, her voice breaking. "You came home and you thought I was her, and I tried to tell you. I swear I tried. But you weren't listening, and then you kissed me and I couldn't. Get out." Junho's voice was steel. "Get out of my house before I do something we'll both regret." Adiz scrambled to gather her clothes, pulling them on with shaking hands. At the door, she turned back. "Please don't tell her. Please. It'll destroy her. You should have thought of that before you betrayed your own sister." He turned away from her, unable to look at her face. That face that was so heartbreakingly similar to the woman he loved. "Get out." The door closed behind her with a soft click. Junho sank to his knees on the cold marble floor, his head in his hands. What had he done? What had they done? Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Lee Jun-ho was not a man who made mistakes. In the treacherous world of organized crime, mistakes got you killed. He'd built his empire from nothing, clawed his way up from the streets where his mother had abandoned him when he was 7 years old. He'd learned early that trust was a luxury he couldn't afford, that love was a weakness that would be exploited, that the only person he could rely on was himself. And then he'd met Amara. She'd been working the night shift at Seoul Central Hospital when one of his men had been brought in with a gunshot wound. While other nurses had whispered and stared with fear in their eyes, Amara had looked at him, standing there in his blood-stained suit, and she hadn't flinched. She'd simply asked him to wait outside while she worked. He'd never forgotten that moment. Her calm in the face of his violence. Her dedication to saving a life, even when that life belonged to a criminal. Her hands, gentle and sure as they worked to stop the bleeding. He'd come back the next day, and the next, not to check on his man but to see her, to watch her move through the hospital corridors with quiet grace, speaking softly to patients in Korean she'd learned just for them, her African accent adding a musical quality to the harsh consonants. To see her smile, rare but devastating when it appeared. It had taken him 3 months to convince her to have coffee with him. 6 months before she agreed to a proper date. A year before she said yes to his proposal, despite knowing exactly who and what he was. "You're a dangerous man, Lee Jun-ho," she told him the night he proposed, her dark eyes serious. "But I don't think you're a bad man. I think you're a man who never learned what love looks like. So I'm going to show you." And she had. For 3 years, Amara had shown him what it meant to be loved unconditionally. She'd softened the sharp edges of his cruelty, reminded him that mercy wasn't always weakness, that there were lines even monsters shouldn't cross. She'd made him want to be better, not for himself, but for her. And he'd just destroyed it all. Jun-ho forced himself to his feet, stumbling to the bathroom. He turned the shower to scalding and stood under the spray until his skin turned red, trying to wash away the feel of wrong hands, wrong skin, wrong woman. But no amount of water could cleanse what he'd done. His phone buzzed. Amara. Finally. "Hey, love." Her voice was tired but warm through the speaker. "I'm so sorry. The surgery took longer than expected. I'm on my way home now. Did Adiz wait with you? Did you eat?" Jun-ho closed his eyes, water streaming down his face, mingling with tears he wouldn't acknowledge. "She was here. Good. I'm glad you weren't alone. I know you hate when I work nights." There was love in every word, trust, faith in him that he just shattered into a million pieces. "Amara," he started, then stopped. What could he possibly say? How could he explain? "I'll be home in 20 minutes, she said. "I love you." The line went dead before he could respond, before he could confess, before he could beg for forgiveness he didn't deserve. Jun-ho dressed mechanically, his mind racing through options. He could lie, say nothing happened. Adiz had left before anything could occur. It would be easy. Amara trusted him completely. She would never question it. But he'd built their marriage on honesty, even when that honesty revealed the darkest parts of himself. She knew about the kills, the torture, the crimes that would haunt most people's nightmares. And she'd stayed. She'd chosen him anyway. He couldn't lie to her. Not about this. He was sitting in the living room, staring at nothing, when she came through the door. The early morning sun was just beginning to rise, painting the room in shades of gold. She looked exhausted, still in her scrubs, her natural hair pulled back in a bun, but she smiled when she saw him. "You waited up," she said, dropping her bag and moving toward him. "You didn't have to do that." Jun-ho stood, putting distance between them before she could touch him. Her smile faltered. "What's wrong?" Amara asked, her voice immediately alert, concerned. She was a nurse. She was trained to spot the signs of distress. "Jun-ho, what happened? Why didn't you tell me you had a twin sister?" The question came out more accusatory than he'd intended. Amara froze, her expression shifting from concern to something complicated, something painful. "How did you? Adiz told you?" "She didn't have to tell me. I figured it out." He couldn't look at her. "Why did you hide this from me, Amara? We promised no secrets." She sank onto the couch, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Adiz and we haven't been close in a long time. Since before I came to Korea. She made choices I couldn't support, got involved with people I couldn't condone. We're twins, but we're nothing alike. I didn't tell you because there was nothing to tell. She wasn't part of my life. Until last night." "Until last night," Amara agreed. She looked up at him, her eyes searching his face. "She called me a few months ago, said she wanted to reconnect, to make amends. I was skeptical, but she's still my sister, my twin, half of my soul even when we're broken. So when she asked if she could visit, I said yes. I was going to introduce you two properly, but then the emergency happened and She trailed off, studying him more carefully now. "Jun-ho, why do you look like someone died? What happened?" He finally met her eyes. "I thought she was you." The silence that followed was deafening. He watched as understanding slowly dawned on Amara's face, watched the color drain from her dark skin, watched her eyes widen with a horror that mirrored his own from hours before. "No," she whispered. No, please tell me you didn't. I was drunk. I came home and she was here and I didn't look closely enough, and by the time I noticed the birthmark was missing, it was... He couldn't finish the sentence. Amara stood up slowly, backing away from him like he was a stranger, like he was dangerous. You slept with my sister. I thought she was you. You slept with my sister. Her voice cracked, rising to a scream. How? How could you not know the difference? How could you not feel that she wasn't me? I was drunk, Amara. I wasn't thinking clearly. I just saw your face and My face. She laughed. A broken, terrible sound. My face. Is that all I am to you? Just a face? 3 years of marriage and you can't tell the difference between me and someone who looks like me. That's not fair. Fair. Amara's hands were shaking. You want to talk about fair? I trusted you with everything. My heart, my body, my life. I defended you to everyone who said I was crazy for marrying a gangster. I ignored my family's warnings, my friends' concerns. I stood by you through every dark thing you've ever done because I believed you were different with me. That I was different to you. You are different. You are everything. Then how could you do this? The tears came then, streaming down her face. How could you touch her thinking she was me? How could you not know? Junho had faced down rival gangs, survived assassination attempts, stared into the eyes of men as he ended their lives. But nothing had ever broken him the way his wife's tears did in that moment. I'm sorry, he said, the words pathetically inadequate. Amara, I'm so sorry. She shook her head, wrapping her arms around herself. I need you to leave. This is my house. I don't care. I can't look at you right now. Please, just go. Junho wanted to argue, wanted to stay and fight for her forgiveness, but he could see that she needed space. So he grabbed his jacket and walked out, leaving his wife sobbing in the living room of the home they'd built together. If you're feeling the intensity of the story, do us a favor and smash that like button. And comment below. Team Junho or Team Amara? We're reading every single comment. The next 3 weeks were hell. Junho threw himself into work, taking meetings with brutal efficiency, closing deals with more violence than necessary. His men learned to stay out of his way. The ones who didn't learned the hard way that their boss's mercy had evaporated along with his happiness. He called Amara every day. She never answered. He sent messages. They went unread. He tried to come home, but she'd changed the locks. Finally, she agreed to meet him at a cafe. Neutral ground. She looked thinner, he thought, when she walked in. The light had gone out of her eyes. Thank you for meeting me, he said as she sat down across from him. I'm not here to reconcile, she said flatly. I'm here because we need to talk. I'll take whatever you're willing to give me. Amara pulled out her phone and slid it across the table. On the screen was a text message from Adiz. Junho's blood ran cold as he read it. I'm pregnant. It's his. What do I do? He looked up at Amara, whose expression was carefully blank. When did you get this? Yesterday. She sent it to me thinking she was texting a friend. Wrong contact, but very enlightening. Amara's voice was steady, controlled. Too controlled. Is it true? Could she be pregnant with your child? I don't know. Junho's mind was racing. It was one time, one mistake. But yes, it's possible. One mistake, Amara repeated. One mistake that's now growing inside my twin sister. What do you want me to do? I want you to fix this. For the first time, emotion crept into her voice. I want you to make it so this never happened. I want to go back to before that night and I want you to look at her face and see that she's not me. But we can't do that, can we? So instead, I have to live with the fact that my husband slept with my sister, and now she's carrying his baby while She stopped, biting her lip. While you what? Junho leaned forward. Amara shook her head. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Everything about you matters to me. You have a funny way of showing it. She pulled her phone back. Adiz texted me this morning. She wants to talk. All 3 of us. She's coming to the house tonight at 8. I'll be there. I know you will. Amara stood to leave, then paused. Junho, I need to know something. If I forgive you, if I find a way past this, will it be enough? Or will you just hurt me again? I would rather die than hurt you again. You say that now. She walked away without looking back. That evening, Junho arrived at the house at 7:30. Amara let him in without a word, without a touch. They sat in the living room in tense silence, waiting. Adiz arrived exactly at 8. When she walked through the door, Junho could see the differences now. How had he ever confused them? Adiz's eyes were harder, calculating. Her smile was practiced, not genuine. She moved with a confidence that bordered on arrogance, while Amara's grace came from humility and strength. Thank you both for agreeing to see me, Adiz said, sitting down in the chair across from them. You're pregnant, Amara said bluntly. Is it his? Adiz's hand moved instinctively to her still flat stomach. Yes. How do you know for sure? Junho demanded. It's only been 3 weeks. I took a test. 3 tests. All positive. Adiz looked between them. I know this is complicated. Complicated. Amara laughed bitterly. That's one word for it. I never meant for this to happen, Adiz continued. That night, I really did try to tell him I wasn't you. But then, I don't know. It just happened. Things like this don't just happen, Junho said coldly. You made a choice. We both did. And now we all have to live with the consequences. What do you want? Amara asked her sister. Money? For him to claim the child? What? Adiz's expression shifted to something that might have been hurt if Junho believed she was capable of genuine emotion. I want my sister back. I want us to be a family again. I thought if you saw that I could give you something you couldn't, maybe you'd forgive me. Give me something I couldn't? Amara's voice was dangerously quiet. What are you talking about? A child, Adiz said. You've been trying for years, haven't you? I've seen the fertility clinic bills in your mail. The negative pregnancy tests in your bathroom trash. You can't have his baby, but I can. I thought maybe that would make this easier. Junho watched his wife's face crumble, watched 3 years of private pain and silent disappointment written across her features. He'd known she wanted children. They'd talked about it. But he hadn't known about the clinic visits, the tests. She'd kept that pain private, not wanting to burden him. Get out, Amara whispered. Sister, Get out. Amara was on her feet, her whole body shaking with rage. You sleep with my husband, get pregnant with his child, and then you stand there and throw my infertility in my face like it's some kind of gift you're giving me? Get out of my house. I'm not leaving until we figure this out, Adiz said, standing her ground. That's when Junho saw it. The calculation in her eyes. The way she'd positioned herself between them and the door. The way her hand kept moving to her purse, checking something inside. Years of surviving in the criminal underworld had given him instincts that rarely failed. And right now, those instincts were screaming danger. He moved fast, grabbing Adiz's purse before she could react. Inside, he found a recording device still running. What is this? He demanded, holding it up. Adiz's face paled. I can explain. Explain what? That you're recording us? Why? But even as he asked, the pieces were falling into place. The convenient pregnancy, the timing, the way she'd manipulated the situation to get them all together. Who are you working for? Junho. What are you talking about? Amara asked, confused. Your sister isn't here to reconcile, he said, his voice ice cold. She's here to gather information. Aren't you, Adiz? Adiz lunged for the door, but Junho was faster. He grabbed her arm, spinning her around. Who sent you? The Yakuza? The Chinese? Who? Let me go. Adiz struggled against his grip. Tell me the truth. Now. Or I'll. You'll what? Adiz spat. Kill me? In front of your wife? I don't think so. You used me to get to him, Amara said slowly, understanding dawning. This whole reconciliation, coming to Korea, all of it. You were always working for someone. That night, you sleeping with him, that wasn't a drunken mistake. You planned it. Adiz stopped struggling, a smirk crossing her face. You always were the smart one, sister. Too bad you're naive. Did you really think I came halfway across the world just to make amends? I needed access to his operation, his contacts, his weaknesses. And the best way to do that was through you. But the pregnancy. is real, Adiz said. That part wasn't planned. But it does complicate things, doesn't it? You can't kill me now, Junho. I'm carrying your child. Your heir. And my employers are very interested in having leverage over the great Lee Junho. Junho's grip tightened. Your employers. The Tanaka family. Adiz's smirk confirmed it. The Tanaka family was one of the most powerful Yakuza organizations, and they'd been trying to muscle into his territory for years. Junho had pushed back hard, bloodily. He'd made enemies. This was all a setup, Amara said, sinking onto the couch. You used our connection, our blood, to destroy us. I used what I had, Adiz said coldly. And honestly, sister, you made it so easy, so trusting, so desperate to have your family back that you never questioned why I reached out after all these years. You never wondered what I really wanted. Drop a comment right now if you saw this betrayal coming. And if this story is keeping you hooked, hit that subscribe button because it's about to get even more intense. Junho released Adiz, taking a step back. His mind was working through options, strategies, ways to turn this situation to his advantage. How much do they know? Enough, Adiz said, rubbing her arm where he'd grabbed her. Your supply routes, your money laundering operations, your contacts in the police force. They've been very pleased with my work. And the baby? Is that part of the plan too? Like I said, that was an accident, but a useful one. They won't let you touch me now. I'm too valuable. You assume I need their permission. Junho's voice was deadly quiet. Junho, no. Amara stood up, placing herself between her husband and her sister. I know what you're thinking. Don't do it. She betrayed us. Both of us. She's still my sister. My twin. Half of my soul. Remember? Amara looked at Adiz, pain written across her face. Why? Why would you do this? I know we haven't been close, but this is beyond betrayal. This is destruction. For a moment, just a moment, something flickered in Adiz's eyes. Regret? Guilt? But it was gone as quickly as it appeared. You left, Adiz said quietly. When our parents died, when I needed you most, you left Nigeria and came here. You built a new life, found love, found purpose. And you forgot about me, your other half. You left me behind in the ruins of what our family used to be. I asked you to come with me, Amara said, tears streaming down her face. I begged you to leave, to start over, but you chose to stay. You chose the violence, the crime, the path that led you here. Because I had nothing left. Adiz's composure cracked. You were always the good one, the smart one, the one everyone loved. And when they died, you got to escape. But me, I had to survive. And the Tanaka family offered me a way out. They offered me power, money, a purpose. They offered you revenge, Junho said. Against your sister who left you. Against me for taking her from you completely. Adiz didn't deny it. So what now? Amara asked. You've gathered your information. You're pregnant with his child. What's the endgame here, Adiz? Do you kill us? Do you destroy his empire? What? I don't know, Adiz admitted. That's up to the Tanaka family. I'm just the weapon they're using. Then you're a fool, Junho said. The Tanaka family doesn't keep weapons once they've been used. They discard them. And right now, you've outlived your usefulness. I have insurance, Adiz said, but her voice wavered slightly. The baby won't save you. They'll take the baby and dispose of you. That's how this world works. Junho moved closer. But I'm going to give you one chance. One opportunity to make this right. Tell me everything. Every detail of their operation, every plan they have, every piece of information you've given them. Help me destroy them, and I'll let you live. And the baby? Adiz asked. Will be raised by its mother, Junho said. But you'll never see it again. You'll disappear, go somewhere they can't find you, and you'll never contact Amara again. That's not much of an offer. It's the only one you're getting. Take it or leave it. Adiz looked at her sister, searching for something. Amara? You're just going to let him banish me? You betrayed me, Amara said softly. You slept with my husband, got pregnant with his child, and used me to destroy the man I love. You're my sister, my twin, and I love you. But I can't save you from the consequences of your choices. Not this time. The standoff lasted for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Finally, Adiz nodded. I'll tell you everything. But I want protection. Real protection. And money to start over somewhere far from here. Done, Junho said. Start talking. What followed was a 3-hour deposition of information. Adiz told them everything. The Tanaka family's plans to take over Junho's operations, their contacts within his organization, the mole they had planted in his inner circle. She gave them names, dates, locations. By the time she was done, Junho had enough information to wage a war. One more thing, Junho said as Adiz was preparing to leave. Where's my father? Adiz looked confused. Your father? I thought he was dead. That's what I told everyone. But he's not. He disappeared 20 years ago, and I've been looking for him ever since. The Tanaka family found him, didn't they? That's why they thought they could control me. I don't know anything about your father, Adiz said. I swear. Junho studied her face, looking for deception. But she seemed genuinely confused. Fine. Get out. My men will escort you to a safe house. You'll stay there until after the baby is born. And then you disappear. Like you never existed. After Adiz left, escorted by 2 of Junho's most trusted men, he turned to face his wife. Amara was sitting on the couch, her face buried in her hands. I'm sorry, he said, for all of this. Are you? She looked up at him. Because from where I'm sitting, this all worked out perfectly for you. You got information on your enemies, you're getting an heir, and you get to play the hero who saved us both. That's not fair. Nothing about this situation is fair, Junho. Amara stood up. I need time. Time to process everything. Time to figure out if I can forgive you. Time to decide if this marriage is worth saving. Is it? Worth saving? I don't know anymore. She walked toward the bedroom, then paused at the door. I loved you more than I've ever loved anyone. You were my whole world. But now when I look at you, all I see is the night you betrayed me. And I don't know if I can get past that. She closed the door behind her, leaving Junho alone in the living room of a house that no longer felt like a home. Over the next few weeks, Junho prepared for war. Using the information Adiz had provided, he systematically dismantled the Tanaka family's operations in Korea. Supply chains were disrupted. Contacts were eliminated. The mole in his organization was found and dealt with. It was brutal, bloody work. But Junho had never shied away from violence. In fact, in some twisted way, the violence felt cleansing. Every rival he eliminated, every obstacle he destroyed, it was like he was killing the part of himself that had betrayed Amara. But no amount of blood could wash away his guilt. Amara stayed in the house, but they lived like strangers. She slept in the guest room. They ate meals separately. When they did speak, it was about logistics, necessities, nothing personal. The only time he saw emotion in her eyes was when Adiz's pregnancy updates came. Each ultrasound photo, each medical report, it was like a knife twisting in Amara's heart. She was watching her sister grow the child she couldn't have, the child that should have been hers. Then, 2 months after the confrontation, everything changed. Junho was in a meeting with his lieutenants when his phone rang. Unknown number. He normally wouldn't answer, but something made him take the call. Mr. Lee, a woman's voice said. We have your wife. His blood ran cold. What? Amara Lee. We have her. And if you want to see her alive again, you'll stand down. You'll stop your attacks on the Tanaka family, and you'll surrender your operations to them. If you hurt her, you'll what? You're in no position to make threats. You have 24 hours to comply. We'll be in touch with instructions. The line went dead. Junho was out of his chair and moving before his lieutenants could react. Find her. Now. I want every resource we have dedicated to finding my wife. And someone get Adiz on the phone. Now. But when they went to the safe house where Adiz was being kept, she was gone. The guards were dead, their throats cut with professional precision. It was a setup, one of his men said. She played us. She gave us just enough information to make us think we were winning, and then she led us into a trap. Find her, Junho ordered. Find both of them. For 3 days they searched. Junho barely slept, barely ate. He mobilized every contact, called in every favor, used every piece of leverage he had. But Amara had vanished. On the fourth day, he received a video file. His hands shook as he opened it. Amara was tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse. Her face was bruised, her lips split, but her eyes were defiant, unbroken. "Jun-ho," she said, looking directly at the camera. "Don't give them what they want. Don't surrender. I knew the risks when I married you. I knew this day might come. So don't you dare let them win because of me. Do you hear me? Don't you dare." The figure moved into frame. Adiz, her pregnant belly visible now. She placed a gun to Amara's head. "You have 12 hours, Adiz said. "Stand down or she dies." The video ended. This story is far from over, and if you want to see how this ends, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Comment below. Will Amara survive? We need to know what you think. Jun-ho made his decision in the span of a heartbeat. He called the Tanaka family back. "I accept your terms," he said. "I'll surrender everything. Just let her go." "Smart choice," the voice said. "Bring all your operation details to the following address. Come alone. And Mr. Lee, if we see any of your men, if we suspect any kind of ambush, your wife dies." "Understood. Understood." Jun-ho prepared the documents they'd requested, real enough to seem legitimate but missing the key pieces that would actually give them control. It was a gamble. If they checked too closely, they'd know. But he was betting they'd be too arrogant to verify everything immediately. The address they'd given him was a cliffside warehouse on the outskirts of Seoul. Perfect for an ambush. Perfect for disposing of bodies. Jun-ho came armed but concealed his weapons carefully. Inside the warehouse, Amara was still tied to the chair. She looked worse than in the video, more bruised, more tired. But when she saw him, her eyes filled with fury. "You idiot," she said. "I told you not to come. I don't take orders from you," he said, trying to keep his tone light, but his heart was breaking at the sight of her injuries. "How touching," Adiz said, emerging from the shadows. Her hand rested on her swollen belly. 7 months pregnant now. The great Lee Jun-ho, brought to his knees by love. "My sister always did have a gift for taming monsters." "You got what you wanted," Jun-ho said, holding up the briefcase of documents. "Let her go." "Not yet." Adiz took the briefcase, passing it to one of the Tanaka family soldiers. "We need to verify everything first." That wasn't the deal. The deal changed. Adiz moved closer to her sister. "You know, Amara, I've spent the last few months thinking about that night. The night I slept with your husband. And I've realized something. I wasn't forced into it. I wasn't manipulated. I chose to do it. I chose to betray you." "I know," Amara said quietly. "I've always known. That's what hurts the most. Not that it happened, but that you chose it." "Do you want to know why?" Adiz leaned in close. "Because for one night I got to be you. I got to be the loved one, the cherished one, the one who mattered. And it felt good, sister. Felt right. Like maybe the universe made a mistake and I was supposed to be you all along." "The universe didn't make a mistake," Amara said. "We both made choices. You chose darkness and I chose light. And now we're both living with the consequences." "Philosophical until the end," Adiz said. "That's what I always hated about you. Your certainty. Your moral superiority." "There's nothing superior about me," Amara said. "I'm just a woman who tried to do good in a world full of darkness. And I failed. I failed to save you. I failed to see what you'd become. I failed to protect myself from you." "You failed at a lot of things," Adiz agreed. "But you didn't fail at one thing. You didn't fail to make him love you." She gestured to Jun-ho. "He's here, willing to sacrifice everything. For you. That's real power, sister. The kind I could never have." "That's because you don't know how to love anyone but yourself," Amara said. Something flickered across Adiz's face. For a moment, she looked vulnerable, young, like the girl who had lost her parents and her sister all those years ago. But then the mask was back, harder than ever. "The documents check out," one of the soldiers said, approaching with the briefcase. "Everything's here." "Good," Adiz said. "Then we're done here." She raised the gun, pointing it at Amara. "Wait!" Jun-ho lunged forward, but 2 soldiers grabbed him, holding him back. You said you'd let her go. I lied, Adiz said simply. She knows too much, and more importantly, as long as she's alive, you'll never stop trying to get revenge. This way is cleaner. Adiz, please, Amara said, looking up at her sister. I forgive you. For all of it. I forgive you. The words seemed to hit Adiz like a physical blow. Her hand wavered, the gun shaking. Don't, she whispered. Don't say that. I forgive you, Amara repeated. You're my sister, my twin, and I love you. I always will. Stop talking. Adiz's voice cracked. Stop making this harder than it has to be. It doesn't have to be this way, Amara said. You can still choose differently. You can still. The gun went off, but not from Adiz's hand. One of the Tanaka soldiers had fired, the bullet striking Adiz in the shoulder. She dropped her gun, crying out in pain. You've served your purpose, the soldier said coldly. The boss doesn't need you anymore. What? But the baby will be taken care of by us, without you. He raised his gun again, this time aiming for her head. Chaos erupted. Junho, seeing his moment, broke free from his captors and dove for Adiz's dropped gun. He fired 3 times, taking down 2 soldiers. The warehouse erupted in gunfire as his men, who had been positioned outside as backup against his orders, stormed in. In the confusion, Amara managed to free herself from the ropes. She grabbed Adiz, who was bleeding heavily from her shoulder, and dragged her toward the exit. Leave me, Adiz gasped. Just leave me. No, Amara said. You're my sister. I'm not leaving you behind again. They made it outside to where Junho's car was waiting. He was right behind them, providing cover fire. They piled in, and the driver took off, speeding away from the warehouse. In the back seat, Amara pressed her jacket against Adiz's wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Why did you save me? Adiz asked, her face pale. After everything I did? Because you're my sister, Amara said simply. And because I meant what I said. I forgive you. I don't deserve your forgiveness. None of us deserve forgiveness. That's what makes it so precious when we receive it. They made it to a private clinic that Junho controlled. The doctor extracted the bullet and stabilized Adiz, but there were complications. The stress of the injury had triggered premature labor. 7 hours later, Adiz gave birth to a baby boy. He was small but healthy, with Junho's eyes and Adiz's nose. Amara held him first, tears streaming down her face, as she looked at this tiny, innocent life that had come from such darkness. What will you name him? She asked Adiz, who was exhausted but alive. I don't know, Adiz said. I never thought I'd actually have him. Naming him makes him real. He is real, Amara said softly. And he deserves a name. He deserves love. Adiz looked at her sister, then at Junho, who stood in the doorway watching them. I can't raise him, she said. Not after everything. He deserves better than me. What are you saying? Amara asked. I'm saying I want you to have him. You and Junho. Raise him as your own. Give him the life I can't. Adiz. Please, Adiz said. It's the only good thing I can do. The only way I can make any of this right. Let me give you the child you couldn't have. Let me give him the mother he deserves. Amara looked down at the baby in her arms, then at her husband. Junho nodded slowly. We'll take him, Amara said. We'll love him and raise him and give him everything. But Adiz, you need to promise me something. What? That you'll get help. Real help. That you'll leave this life behind and find a way to heal. Because you're still my sister. And I want you to have a chance at happiness. I don't know if I can. Try, Amara said. For me. For him. Try. Adiz nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'll try. 2 months passed. Junho and Amara brought the baby home, naming him Jihoon. It meant wisdom and honor. A hope for the future that could rise from such a dark past. Adiz kept her promise. She entered a treatment program for trauma and addiction. She cut all ties with the Tanaka family, who had been decimated by Junho's counterattack after the warehouse incident. Slowly, carefully, Amara and Junho began to rebuild their marriage. It wasn't easy. The betrayal had cut deep, and trust was slow to return. But they were trying. For Jihoon, for themselves, for the love that had survived even when everything else had fallen apart. Then tragedy struck. Jihoon fell ill. It started as a simple cold but rapidly progressed into something worse. The doctors ran tests and delivered devastating news. A rare genetic condition, one that was terminal. Even with treatment, they gave him 6 months at most. Amara and Junho spent every moment with him. They held him through the bad nights, sang to him, told him stories, poured all their love into the short time they had. Adiz came to visit once, sober and clear-eyed for the first time in years. She held her son, this child she'd given away, and wept. "I'm sorry," she whispered to him. "I'm so sorry you got caught up in all of this. You deserved better. You deserved so much better." For months after his diagnosis, Jihoon passed away peacefully in Amara's arms. He was 6 months old. The funeral was small, just family and a few close friends. Adiz stood on one side of the grave, Amara and Junho on the other. 3 broken people united by grief and love and the memory of a child who had lived too briefly. After it was over, after everyone had left, Adiz approached her sister. "I'm leaving Korea," she said. "Going back to Nigeria. There's a clinic there that needs nurses and I thought maybe I could follow in your footsteps. Do some good for once." "I think that's a good idea," Amara said. "I'm sorry," Adiz said. "For everything. For all of it. I know I've said it before, but I need you to know I mean it." Losing him. She couldn't finish. "I know," Amara said. "I know you do. Can you ever forgive me? Really forgive me?" Amara was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and took her sister's hand. "I already have. But Adiz, you need to forgive yourself. That's the hardest part. I don't know if I can." "Then learn," Amara said gently. "Learn how to live with what you've done. Learn how to be better. Learn how to love yourself enough to deserve the forgiveness you've been given." They hugged. These 2 sisters who had been broken and remade by tragedy. And then Adiz walked away. Amara didn't know if she'd ever see her again, but she hoped Adiz would find peace. If this story touched your heart, we need you to do something for us. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling us what you felt, and subscribe so you never miss another story like this. Your support means everything to us. 2 months after Jihoon's death, Amara woke up feeling nauseous. First, she thought it was grief. The grief that came in waves, that hit her at unexpected moments, that made the world feel hollow and wrong. But when the nausea persisted for a week, she took a test. Positive. She stared at the 2 pink lines, unable to believe it. After years of trying, after accepting that it would never happen, after losing Jihoon, now this? She told Junho that evening. He didn't say anything at first, just pulled her close and held her tight. "Are you happy?" she asked against his chest. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "After everything we've lost, everything we've been through, I'm terrified of hoping for this." "Me too," Amara whispered. "But maybe that's okay. Maybe being terrified means we understand how precious this is." The pregnancy was difficult. Amara was considered high risk due to her age and history. She had to be monitored constantly, had to rest more than she wanted, had to watch as Junho became increasingly anxious with every doctor's visit. But slowly, as the months passed and the baby continued to grow strong, they began to hope. They began to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could have this. In her 7th month, Amara woke up in pain. She was rushed to the hospital, and the doctors delivered the news. She was having twins. Twins! Amara laughed through her tears. "Of course it's twins. It's appropriate," Junho said, squeezing her hand. "Considering everything. Do you think this is Jihoon's doing?" Amara asked. "Some kind of blessing from beyond?" "I think," Junho said carefully, "that we've been through hell and somehow found our way back to each other. And if there are any blessings in this world, we've earned them." The labor was long and difficult. There were complications, moments when the doctors looked worried, times when Junho thought he might lose her. But Amara was strong. She'd survived betrayal, violence, grief, and loss. She could survive this. At sunrise, she gave birth to 2 healthy babies, a boy and a girl. They named them Jiwoo and Jihai, wisdom and grace. Holding her children, Looking at her husband, Amara felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of hope. The understanding that even in the darkest moments, even when everything falls apart, there is a possibility for rebirth. From betrayal came death, Junho said softly, echoing words Amara had said months ago. But from forgiveness came life. Do you think we'll be okay? Amara asked. After everything, do you think we can really have this? A normal life? A happy ending? I don't know if we get happy endings, Junho said honestly. Not people like us. But I know we get moments. Moments of joy, of peace, of love. And maybe that's enough. Maybe moments are all anyone gets. Then let's make this moment count, Amara said, looking down at her sleeping children. Let's make all of our moments count. And they did. It wasn't perfect. They still had nightmares about the past. They still grieved for Jihoon. They still bore the scars of betrayal and violence. But they had each other. They had their children. And they had the understanding that love, real love, isn't about perfection. It's about choosing to stay, to fight, to forgive, even when everything inside you says to run. 6 months later, Amara received a letter from Nigeria, from Mediz. It was short, just a few lines. I'm doing better, working at the clinic, trying to be the person you always believed I could be. I think about Jihoon every day. I think about all of us. I'm sorry I couldn't be there to meet your twins, but I'm happy for you. Really happy. You deserve every bit of joy you've found. Thank you for never giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself. Your sister always, Adiz. Amara folded the letter carefully and put it in a box with Jihoon's things. Memories of pain and love, intertwined forever. That evening, as she rocked Jiwoo and Jihai to sleep, Junho came in and sat beside her. What are you thinking about? He asked. Redemption, Amara said. And how sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. Have you forgiven yourself? Junho asked. For everything that happened? I'm trying, Amara said. That's all any of us can do. Try. And keep trying. Even when it's hard.